Hey everybody, it's Miss Berry. In today's video, we are looking at section 2.3, which is called Analyzing Graphs. So we will just be looking at different types of common histogram shapes that you might see and what those histogram shapes are called, and then what that tells us about the data set. So let's get started. There are lots of different options for the shapes that a histogram can take on, but the ones that we're going to be studying in this class are called uniform, symmetric, skewed to the right, and skewed to the left. So let's take a closer look at each one. The first distribution that we're going to be looking at today in this lesson is called the uniform distribution. In the uniform distribution, all the bars of your histogram are approximately the same height. You can see they're not all exactly the same height, but there's not one class that is significantly taller than the other ones. So all of these bars are approximately the same height. This tells us that the data are pretty equally spread out among the possible values. The next distribution that we'll be looking at is called the symmetric distribution. Now, most of the time, whenever you're looking at distributions that are symmetric, you'll be looking at what we will call a normal curve. But there are other examples of symmetric distributions that do not follow the normal curve. So whenever you hear me refer to the normal curve, that's referring to a histogram that looks something like this, where, sorry, my bars are not equal width. I'm drawing this on my screen. So this is called the normal distribution. That's where you have the peak in the middle and you have sort of a mirror image of the histogram. It could be folded in half and it would match up approximately. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. But in a normal distribution, it's symmetric and the peak is in the middle. But the more general definition of the symmetric distribution would be a histogram that has two halves that are mirror images of each other. So this does fall under that category. The normal distribution is a symmetric distribution. So it has two halves. Here's the left half, and it mirrors the right half. All right, but here you have sort of the opposite of the normal distribution, where you have two peaks. You have one on the left, one on the right. This would be an example of a bimodal symmetric distribution. So this has two peaks, so we would call that bimodal. All right, on the right-hand side, you've got what appears to be a normal curve. We will eventually start drawing these smooth curves over our histograms, and those are what we call our normal curves. So again, when you have the peak in the middle and sort of mirror images on either side, we would call that the normal distribution, which is just a special case of the symmetric distribution. And this one is, the one on the right is unimodal. It just has the one peak in the middle. Our next distribution that we're going to be looking at is called skewed to the right. Now, this one, the name is somewhat misleading and maybe counterintuitive to what you might think skewed to the right looks like. Whenever a distribution is skewed to the right, the peak is on the left. All right, so when you have a, sorry, I don't know why there we go. So we have the peak on the left and the tail is longer on the right. So what do we mean by tail? That's if we were to draw a smooth curve over this, this would have a longer tail. That's the tail over here. It would have a longer tail on the right-hand side. So just remember that if it's skewed to the right, the peak is on the left. Skewed to the right, peak is on the left. And again, just since we mentioned it a minute ago, this is a unimodal distribution. We just have this one peak over here on the left. Now let's look at skewed to the left. So if a distribution is skewed to the left, that means the peak is on the right, and the tail is longer on the left. Again, what do we mean by tail? That's if we were to draw a smooth curve over this histogram, it would look something like that. So you can see the tail is longer on the left-hand side. Let me be a little bit more careful there. I sort of also circled peak. All right, so the tail is longer on the left. All right, so skewed to the left means the peak is on the right. This distribution is also unimodal. It's got this one peak over here on the right-hand side. All right, so here are some examples. I want you to take a look at the one on the top left. What type of distribution do you think that is? Is it uniform, symmetric, skewed to the left, or skewed to the right? This one is skewed to the left. Skewed, left. All right, now what about this one, bottom left? Is that one uniform, symmetric, normal, skewed to the left, or skewed to the right? That one is skewed right. The peak is on the left. Skewed right. All right, now looking at the top right. What do you think that one is? Is it uniform? Is it symmetric? Is it normal? Is it skewed left, or is it skewed right? This one is uniform. Uniform. All the histograms are all the bars of the histogram are approximately the same height. And then on the bottom here, what is this one? Is it uniform? Is it symmetric? Is it normal? Is it skewed left, or is it skewed right? This one is symmetric, and more specifically, it is normal. So it's symmetric. It has a mirror image of itself on both sides. If you split it down the middle, it would be the mirror image of itself. But again, when the peak is in the middle and it just has one peak, we call that the normal distribution. Right, here's some more examples. Looking at the top left, what type of distribution is that? That is the normal distribution, the symmetric normal distribution. What about on the top right? Is that uniform? Is it symmetric? Is it normal? Is it skewed left, or is it skewed right? The peak is on the left, so it's skewed right. Skewed right. And then on the bottom, we've got another histogram. Is this one uniform, symmetric, normal, skewed left, or skewed right? This one will be skewed left. The peak is on the right. Skewed left. Peak on the right. All right, everybody, that is it for this section. I hope you will let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.